Good evening. I'm gonna start with lipids right now. I hope I'm audible and visible. Just let me know from the Oracle, like if anyone is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have Iravati, Manavi, Sridharanika, Sanjay, Fauzia. I think we have many students right now. So yes, guys. th- I'm gonna start with the lipid chemistry right now. It is a new topic for you, everyone, and we are going to discuss it. Yes. So yes, just give me a thumbs up in the chat box, guys. If I'm audible, I'm visible, and you all are ready with your notebooks. We can start with the chemistry of lipids, guys. I'm guaranteeing you, whatever we are discussing, it is not only important for your university exams. It will be important for your FMG. It will be important for your NEET PG exam, INI CET exam. Everything. It will be it will be very important, guys. Right? Sanjay, okay, what about rest, guys? Are you all aware? Chalo. Fausia, very good, beta. Just try to keep commenting in the chat box. It will be yeah, it will be easier for me to access as well. Yes, Sri Dharanika, very good, beta. I would request everyone to keep commenting on the chat in the chat box so that I hope the screen is visible to everyone. Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, perfect, guys. Now, guys, we have Yes, guys, we have initiated a 90 days university prof free final mastery classes. And today the topic that we are going to discuss it is the lipid chemistry. Okay. The biochemistry of lipids, right? So yes, guys, I'm going to discuss all the important questions that have been asked in the past 10 years in the university exams, right? All the potent questions that I feel that will be important for your upcoming exams, right? I will be quickly revising the topics with all emphasizing on the major concepts, guys, right? And the important expected topics I will be covering along with it. Now, guys, I will be discussing today's topic in form of three parts. That is the long essay question that is of 10 marks. Then we have short essays, 8 or 5 marks question, and then we have very short 2 or 3 marks type of questions, right? And today I'm gonna discuss 7 questions and guys, 50% of the lipids I will be covering up today only. I will be drawing with you, I will be writing with you, I will be explaining all the structure, what is the importance in biochemistry, everything we are going to discuss it today, right? Please be with your notebooks, guys, and try to write along with me, right? Now, guys, Oracle, you already know we have the recorded classes, the live classes, the practical sessions are also there. Even the hard copy book set, the notes are also available. The exam module series is also there, right? Foundational classes are there, live classes, express exam module under 20 hours. We are covering the entire like this one-to-one doubt clearing sessions are also there, right? Apart from that, the hard copy book set, which I have already told you. And we have the question bank, guys, from beginners to advanced level, guys. Now, these question basically covers the 10 years, past 10 years questions also, right? Whatever questions have been asked in the NEET, PG, FMG, or in the university exams. Apart from that, the clinical questions, they are being designed by the expert team, right? The Because nowadays the paper is more clinical. So the clinical questions are also being there, covering from basic to advanced level, right? So this is the basic subscription plan that you can just see on the screen. And for additional discounts, you can just use my code Dr.Abjijeet 20. Now, starting with the very first question for today, guys. Yeah, the lipids. Classify lipids with an example for each and mention the functions of the lipids. Guys, very important. Now, just try to answer according to the question. And this is right. Yes. What is the definition of lipids? See, you will only understand the lipid metabolism when you actually have a clear knowledge, the basic knowledge of lipids and everything, the basic biochemistry of lipids. It is very, very important. Okay. Even for NEET PG exam, even for next exam, even for FMG exam, basics should be clear. If you don't understand the basic, if I directly jump onto the metabolism, you will never understand that. Right. So yeah, all the 7, 8 students who are there, just try to focus with me, try to write along with me. Yes. What is the definition of lipids, guys? Remember that it is a heterogeneous. Now, when I say heterogeneous, guys, hetero means different. It is a heterogeneous group of compounds which is soluble in non-polar solvents. Now, guys, try to understand this. The non-polar solvents. Non-polar solvents are nothing but, for example, you already know we have ether or we have chloroform, or there can be any other non-polar. Non-polar means which is not water, which is not soluble in water. These are the non-polar solvents, the ether, chloroform. Okay, so these lipids, they are soluble in ether, they are soluble in chloroform, but they are insoluble in water. And that is something you guys already know from your basics, that the lipids are never soluble in water, right? They are insoluble in water, but they are soluble in ether or chloroform. They are non-polar solvents. But water is a polar solvent, guys. Water is a polar solvent, right? So lipids, if I just want to give a statement over here, that lipids are related more physically than chemically. They are related more physically than chemically. And this statement you will be understanding when I will be discussing the entire lipids, right? So they are related more physically than chemically. Now, coming on to the classification of lipids, and this classification I am writing along with you, and you are going to like draw like this as well only. So we are discussing the classification of lipids, and the scientist like who gave the classification, हिंदी में पढ़ाओ थोड़ा हाँ। संजय कौन से ईयर में हो? तुम, मुझे जहां तक लग रहा है पता नहीं, संजय विच संजय, पता नहीं, काफी सारे संजय है। लिपिड्स बेसिकली दे आर, बेटा वो पानी में सॉल्युबल नहीं होता है। बाकी जो नॉन पोलर सॉल्वेंट्स होते हैं, देखो वाटर पोलर सॉल्वेंट है, नॉन पोलर सॉल्वेंट्स जो ईथर और क्लोरोफॉर्म है, ठीक है, सो दे आर सॉल्युबल इन दैट। अच्छे से पता आपको, पता कौन हो। नाउ क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ लिपिड्स, इट इज बेसिकली गिवन बाय अ साइंटिस्ट दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ब्लूर। Okay, so it is also known as Bloor's classification. It is also known as Bloor's classification, and the classification basically includes, I'm guaranteeing you guys, if you just try to be with me throughout my lectures, biochemistry questions बहुत easily हो जाएंगे. You will be mastering the biochemistry in like very, very easy. Now, the lipids are basically classified into simple lipids. We have complex lipids. Complex lipids are also called as compound lipids. Then we have derived lipids. And fourth one, we have miscellaneous lipids. Miscellaneous lipids. Now, miscellaneous lipids are the ones which no possess characteristics of lipids, but we have like classified them differently only. Now, guys, we are going to study each lipid in detail right now. The simple lipids, the complex or compound lipids, the derived lipids, or the miscellaneous lipids. I'm going to cover each of the lipids one by one. So that is the classification which is given by Bloor's. That's why it is called as the Bloor's classification of lipids. Right? Now, the very first thing that we are going to discuss over here, So that is one of the section that I have taken from the notes. We have simple lipids, compounds, derived and miscellaneous lipids, and I'm just going to cover each one separately. Now, the very first one, guys, that is the simple lipids. No, simple lipids. I will be drawing structures with you guys so that the things become like more easy for you. Now, guys, remember the simple lipids, basically they are esters of fatty acid and alcohol. Okay. Now, they are esters of fatty acid and alcohol. Now, guys, alcohol over here, I am actually talking about the very basic that we have discussed in carbohydrate, that is glycerol. The most common, MC basically means the most common, it is glycerol, or it can be any higher alcohol as well. Glycerol is basically containing 3 carbons, guys, and you already know the 3 carbon, it is having this OH group, polyhydroxy alcohol, I can say, right? And 1 carbon forms 4 bonds, char valency, 4 bonds, right? So yes, just adding hydrogen to it, and that is basically the structure of glucose. So they are esters of fatty acids and alcohol. Fatty acid is carbon with COOH group, right? Or this carbon, I can write RCOOH. R basically refers to the carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 16, 20, right? And COH, it is the acidic group, fatty acid and alcohol. Now, simple lipids are nothing but the fatty acids and alcohol. Examples that you have to remember, right? The examples that you have to remember from the exam point of view, we have the fats, the normal fats that we are taking, right? Now, when I say fat, guys, right? Over here, the fat that I'm talking about, it is solid at room temperature. Solid at room temperature. I will be like discussing the structure also of this fat. And this fat is nothing but the triacyl glycerol. The triacyl glycerol. Earlier, beta, earlier we used to call it as triglycerides. Triglycerides. Earlier we call it as triglycerides, right? So these fats are solid at room temperature and they are nothing but the triglycerides, or they are called as triacyl glycerol. Now, how this triacyl glycerol is formed, let us just try to see, guys. Now, we are talking about simple lipids. They are formed from fatty acid and alcohol. Alcohol that we are using, it is nothing but glycerol, which is having 3 carbons, right? So let me just draw a simple lipid, that is triacyl glycerol for you. Now, let us suppose this is glycerol. Glycerol is containing 3 carbons. And sir told that glycerol is nothing but polyhydroxy. Poly means many, hydroxy means OH. Poly means many OH groups that are attached to all the carbons. We have how many carbons? 3 carbons, 1, 2, and 3. And for 1 carbon, we have to like fulfill the valency, that is 4. 4 bonds the carbon will form. So for the first carbon, only 2 bonds are there. I will be adding H2, 2 hydrogen just to balance. Second carbon is having, yes, 3 bonds. I will be adding only one H. And the third carbon, it is again having 2 bonds. So I will be having H2 over here. So this is glycerol. This is glycerol. Now to the glycerol, what we are adding? We are adding this fatty acid. Okay, we have 3 carbons, so we will be adding 3 fatty acids, 3 different fatty acids. So I can take as R1, and fatty acid, the group, it is COOH, acidic group. I will take another fatty acid, R2COOH, and I can also take one more fatty acid, that is R3COOH. Again, guys, these are 3 different fatty acid, and R is nothing but long hydrocarbon chain. Long hydrocarbon chain. R is nothing but the long hydrocarbon chain, right? R basically refers to the number of carbon atoms. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4 millions, right? R1, R2, and R3. Now, guys, what is happening, guys, over here? Now, to make a triacyl glycerol, that is the fat, that is the simple lipid, guys, what we have to do now? Just try to see over here how this reaction takes place. Now, I have told you esters, right? Esters. So we are removing three water molecules over here. We are removing three water molecules over here. Now, three water molecules. Now, let me just take from here. So what I'm taking one hydrogen from like all the three carbon atoms of this glycerol. One hydrogen. Water is having two hydrogen and one oxygen. That is, you already know. And one OH from here and one OH from here. So obviously we have one oxygen, one hydrogen from here and one hydrogen from here. So we will have like three water molecules from three different carbons, right? So we are like yeah. What we are doing, we are removing this water molecule. Now how, guys, the structure will be there? Over here, guys, you can simply see that this part is like remaining. This part is remaining, right? And one oxygen over here is there. So let us just try to copy what is remaining from glycerol. So glycerols are told, yes, CH2, this is remaining with an oxygen. This is remaining, right? Now over here, guys, what we have to do from here, we will use this part. This CO is remaining, right? If you can just see this CO is remaining. So first we'll write this CO. Now this CO, I can write it like this, guys. C double bond O. Obviously, the CO, I can write it as C double bond O. And what is remaining? This R1. So this R1, I will be adding like this. This R1, I will be adding like this, right? So guys, if you can just clearly see this bond, guys, this bond, C double bond O, O, this is called as the ester bond. It is called as the ester bond, or we also call it as the covalent bond, which is formed by sharing of electrons, right? So this is called as the ester bond or the covalent bond, right? So just one moment. Sure. Now that is regarding the first wala part, right? Secondly, we have to add all these three to this three. So yes, in the second part, it is like the same, guys. And the third one also will be like the same. This is called as triacyl glycerol. I hope now the structure is clear. Triacyl glycerol. From glycerol we are forming, right? The three carbons are there, right? And this is triacyl glycerol is something which is called as the neutral fat. It is called as the neutral fat, guys. The neutral oil. So just give me a thumbs up in the chat box, guys, if the structure is clear, how the triacyl glycerol is formed. The simple fat, the fat that is triacyl glycerol, or also called as the triglyceride, if it is clear to everyone over here. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Yes, Sanjay, okay, perfect. What about rest, guys? Are you all attending? Right, yeah, Manvi, Dharanika, Fozia, yeah. I'm just waiting for your thumbs up, guys. Yes. So your speed is little slow, but I'm just trying to make it more clear. Otherwise, I can just skip the reaction part and like go further ahead. So, anyways, now guys, the second example that you have to just focus over here. The first one, it is the fats. The second one, guys, you have to remember oils in simple lipids. We are discussing simple lipids. Now, oils are nothing but guys, you already know the oils are the ones which are basically liquid at room temperature. They are liquid at room temperature, right? They are liquid at room temperature. And one more example that you can remember, that is the wax. Now, wax is nothing but it is formed of fatty acid plus alcohol. Now, over here, the alcohol is not glycerol. Over here, we have taken glycerol for triacyl glycerol. But over here, the alcohol is any higher like molecular weight alcohol. Any higher molecular weight alcohol, right? Any higher molecular weight alcohol. So we have discussed the very first one, that is the simple lipids. Simple lipids are nothing but fatty acids plus alcohol. And alcohol over here we have taken glycerol. We have triacyl glycerol and waxes, right? Wax is nothing but fatty acid plus higher molecular weight alcohol, right? So that was regarding the simple lipids. Coming on to the next, that is the compound lipids. Coming on to the next, that is compound lipids. Compound lipids. Now, guys, compound lipids are the ones. Now, okay. One more thing that they have asked in the exam, which I just forgot to mention, that triacyl glycerol, guys, it is the storage form of lipids in humans. Storage form of lipids in humans. That is in the form of adipocytes, fat cells, right? Storage form of lipids in humans, again, a very, very important MCQ. That is nothing but the triacyl glycerol or the triglycerides and in the adipocytes, right? Coming on to the compound lipids, or it is also called as the complex lipids. Now, compound lipids and complex lipids, what is the composition, guys? We have the fatty acid plus alcohol. Alcohol, it can be in the form of glycerol. And apart from that, we have any other group. Any other group. Now, what is this? You already know fatty acid plus alcohol, it is simple lipid. Now, what makes it complex or compound lipid? It is that other group. If the other group, it is phosphate, then what will be the name? Phospholipid. Okay, if the other group is phosphate, it is called as phospholipids. Phospholipids. Now, if the other group, it is carbohydrate. Can anyone tell me the name? If the other group is carbohydrate, what will be the name of the lipid? Anyone in the chat box? If the other group is sulfate, what will be the name of the lipid? Right? So, yes, if the other group is protein, what will be the name of the lipid? One has answered, yes, Sanjay, very good. Carbohydrate. We call it as, yes, the carbohydrate. Vikas Lamba, very good. We have, okay, you already know carbohydrate, storage form of carbohydrate in humans. It is glycogen. So it is glycolipids. Yes. Sulfate, Vikas Lamba has already told it correct. It is sulfolipids. It is sulfolipids. And what about protein? Anyone? When protein is attached to the lipid, it is called as lipoprotein, guys. It is called as lipoprotein. Protein anchored with lipid. Very good, Vikas. Lipoprotein, protein anchored with lipid. So when we talk about compound lipids or complex lipids, we have phospholipids, we have glycolipids, we have sulfolipids, or we have lipoprotein based on the different group that is attached. Either it is phosphate, carbohydrate, sulfate, or protein. Now that was regarding the second one. Second one, that is the compound lipids. Apart from that, guys, coming on to the third one, that is the derived lipids. And derived lipids, you already know. Yeah, the third one, that is, yeah, the derived lipids. Now, derived lipids, basically, they are either derived from simple or complex lipids. Okay, so basically, they are precursors of other groups. They are precursors of other groups. For example, guys, you already know we have formed this triacylglycerol, right? Now, if I want to break this triacylglycerol, and that with the help of an enzyme that is called as lipase. Lipase is the enzyme which will actually like break the triacylglycerol, and it will form what, guys, you already know. Triacylglycerol was formed from three fatty acids, and it was also formed from glycerol. So these three fatty acids is nothing but the derived lipid, and this glycerol, it is also a derived lipid. Derived lipids. So just the simple lipids, like the same way we have formed the simple lipids, we have just reciprocated that reaction to break down the triglycerides or the triacylglycerol. We are using an enzyme that is called lipase. अब triacylglycerol किससे बना था? You already know it is formed from glycerol. It is formed from three fatty acids. They are broken down, and yes, these are nothing but the derived lipids. Examples are very, very important from neet PG point of view, from FMG point of view, guys. Remember the fat soluble vitamins. Can anyone tell me in the chat box what are the fat soluble vitamins? These are nothing but the derived lipids, the fat soluble vitamins. I'm waiting for your answer. This is something you should know, guys. Yeah, the fat soluble vitamins. Nahin. Sanjay, B group, it is the water soluble vitamins. Vikas, yes. ADEK, these are the fat soluble vitamins. Yes, very good. The hormones, guys, the hormones, these are nothing but the derived lipids. The third one, the steroids, guys. The steroids are nothing but the derived lipids. Even the ketone bodies, guys, that I will be discussing in the metabolism part, these are also the derived lipids. The fat soluble vitamins, the hormones, the steroids, the ketone bodies, these are all the derived lipids. These are all derived lipids. So that is the third one, guys. The derived lipids, that is fatty acids, steroids, right? So the ketone bodies, eicosanoids, right? These are all the derived lipids. And guys, the fourth one that you have to just take from this particular slide, they process or they possess the characteristics of lipids. And just try to remember the name as of now. These are squalene and carotenoids. Okay, these are squalene and carotenoids. Again, guys, I'm telling you, in the later part, all these names will come and we'll have a detailed discussions. But as of now, just try to remember the basic classification of the lipids, that is simple, compound, derived, and miscellaneous, right? So I hope the classification is clear, the structures are clear, the like examples are clear to everyone that whatever we have discussed, right? So just give me a thumbs up if the definition and classification is clear of lipids with an example. Yes. Now coming on to one of the important part of the question, that is the functions of the lipids. Yes, the functions of the lipids. Vikas, very good. Sanjay, very good. What about rest, guys? Yes. Manvi, yes, very good. Now the question says mention the function of lipids. Guys, I'm discussing it in the form of Q&A because it will be easier. Obviously, I'm completing the entire topic, so no need to worry. Just in the form of Q&A. Can anyone tell me what are the functions of lipids? This is something, guys, you already know from long time. Yes. Hmm. Okay, let me just write it over here. The functions, very good, Vikas. The very first function that Vikas has already told me, and that is energy storage. Energy storage. And energy storage, it is in the form of which lipid, guys? Energy storage, it is in the form of which lipid? Simple lipid. That is the triacyl glycerol. Very good. Triglycerides. Right? The triglycerides, guys, right? They are basically, yeah, they store energy in adipocytes. Adipocytes, right? So they are acting as like, obviously after glucose, the metabolic fuel that is being required, that is these okay. The second important function that you have to remember, guys, they are the structural components of cell membrane. Structural components of cell membrane. Now, when I say structural components, you already know we have a cell, and the outermost part of the cell, it is called as cell membrane. And cell membrane, it is basically formed of phospholipid. Now you understand what is phospholipid now. Lipid. Phospholipid is a compound or a simple lipid? Guys, in the chat box, anyone. The phospholipid, it is a compound or a simple lipid? Very good. It is a compound lipid. Q, because it is having fatty acid, it is having glycerol. But apart from fatty acid and glycerol, it is having the phosphate group. That's why it is called as complex or compound lipid. Apart from that, guys, we have one more thing that is called as cholesterol. I have drawn the structure in the very first class of the plasma membrane. I've told you cholesterol is also taking part in the formation of the cell membrane. So this cholesterol is also a lipid, right? Phospholipids, cholesterol, they are structural components of the cell membrane, right? They are maintaining the fluidity, right? Maintaining fluidity, stability, structure of the cell membrane. Very, very, very important, right? Apart from that, they also help in insulation and protection. Now, when I say insulation, guys, you already know that lipids which are stored in adipose tissue, the lipids which are stored in adipose tissue, guys, they are providing thermal insulation, right? The fat, okay? And they basically protect the organ, they cushion the organs from the shock, physical shock, right? Apart from that, yeah, so it is also helping in protection also, right? Even lipids help in digestion of fat soluble vitamins. Now, guys, you already know fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Vikas has already told. Okay, they help in the digestion, the absorption of the fat soluble vitamins, right? So basically, these are the important functions that you can take away from this particular slides. You can add waterproofing part also, signaling. Okay, so lipids such as steroids, no, act as signaling molecules like hormones. Okay, so hormones basically regulating the various physiological processes in the body. That is again one of the important functions of the lipids that you can just remember. So this was regarding the very first question that we have discussed. That is the lipids definition, classification lipids, examples, and functions of the lipids. So you have to mention everything. All the important points and questions are being covered. Coming on to the next one, that is yeah, the compound lipids. And I already know, guys, we have discussed the compound lipids in detail, guys. We have discussed the compound lipids, right? We have discussed the compound lipids in the very first question only. Now, other parts I will be discussing. Yeah, okay. Now, the question says, explain the properties and functions of phospholipids in biological system. Now, this is also a compound lipid only. And one of the compound lipids that we are going to discuss right now, that is phospholipids. Phospholipids. This phospholipids is very, very important. That's why I'm taking it on another slide. Already there are various functions, but before coming on to the functions, so let us just try to understand what are these phospholipids, guys. So we already know The compound lipids, these are fatty acids plus alcohol plus other group. If other group is phosphate, then it is phospholipids. Let us just try to understand about the phospholipids. So they are compound lipids with phosphoric acids. Phosphoric acids with phosphate group or phosphoric acid. Now, they are having four parts, guys. These phospholipids are having four parts. The very first one, we have the alcohol. And alcohol, you already know it is in the form of glycerol. The second, we have the fatty acids. Fatty acids, we have taken three fatty acids, RCOOH. So that is, you all know ki alcohol, glycerol is there, fatty acid is there. The third one, we have the phosphate group, guys, over here. Very, very important. We have the phosphate group, right? The phosphate group is there. And apart from that, which you have to remember, we have one base. This base, it is either present or it is either absent, guys. Base, basically, it is composed of nitrogen containing, whether it contains nitrogen or it is non-nitrogen containing. Non-nitrogen containing. I will draw the structure, no need to worry. So base is either optional. These three are present for sure in a phospholipid, but the base, if the base is present, it will be having a nitrogenous compound, or if it is not, so if we have a non-nitrogen containing. So that's what basically classifies the phospholipid. So if we just talk about the classification of phospholipid, now, phospholipids basically can be classified into two major categories. Either we have glycerophospholipids, glycerophospholipids, right? Or we have spingo. Yes, Vikas, very good. We have spingophospholipids. Now, guys, just try to see what is the difference between both of them. Now, glycero basically means the alcohol will be glycerol, and spingo basically means the alcohol over here will be spingosine. Till now, from 11th and 12th, guys, you already know only one alcohol, that is glycerol. Now you have to understand there is one more alcohol that is called as spingosine. So over here, beta, just try to mention everything in notes so it is clear. The alcohol here, it is glycerol. That's why the name glycerophospholipid. Over here, the alcohol, it is spingosine. Spingosine. And that's why the name spingophospholipids. Spingophospholipids. Now, the glycerophospholipids are basically classified, guys. The glycerophospholipids are basically classified into nitrogen containing, the one which contains the nitrogen. The other one, it is non-nitrogen containing. And the other one, which is like referred as unclassified. They can be added either ways. So the nitrogen containing, guys, examples that you have to remember, very, very, very important. We have lecithin. I will be coming to the structure of the lecithin, the function of the lecithin. But as of now, remember lecithin is basically a type of glycerophospholipid, and it is containing nitrogen also. It is containing alcohol in the form of glycerol. It is containing fatty acid. It is containing phosphate group, and it is also containing nitrogen. So lecithin, we have one more example that is called as cephalin. Cephalin. Okay. And we have one more example, guys. Very, very important. It is called phosphatidylserine. Please be very clear with the spellings. Phosphatidylserine. Phosphatidylserine. Non-nitrogen containing, guys, you already know we have Phosphatidylglycerol, phosphatidylglycerol. We have very, very important cardiolipin. We have one more that is called as phosphatidylinositol, inositol, phosphatidylglycerol, cardiolipin, phosphatidylinositol. Please be very clear with the examples, guys. Unclassified are two. You have to remember acid, phosphatidic acid, and the other one that is called as ether lipids. The other one that is called as the ether lipids. We have phosphatidic acid and we have ether lipids. That is something you have to remember from this particular part. Compound lipids, one of the example, it is the phospholipids, right? And what are the parts of the phospholipids? Composition and the classification is way, way important. Dollar sign indicates the importance of this particular slide. Dollar is very important, so that's why the now. So I hope this is clear, guys. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat box if this is clear. If this is clear, just let me know. Now, in the second question, what they have asked, guys, what they have asked in the question, in the next question is, explain the properties and functions of phospholipids in biological systems. Now, what are the properties and functions of no phospholipids? Okay. So you guys already know that. Okay, let me just try to make it more no easier for you guys. Now, if we talk about the simplest phospholipid, let me just try to write it. If we talk about the simplest phospholipid, or I can say the simplest glycerophospholipid. Again, a very, very important question from the exam point of view. The simplest glycerophospholipid, it is nothing but the phosphatidic acid. Phosphatidic acid. Now, this phosphatidic acid, basically, all the other glycerophospholipids are basically derived from the phosphatidic acid, right? Now, let me just try to, yeah, draw a general structure of a glycerophospholipid first. General structure, and then you will be understanding this of glycerophospholipid. Now, guys, can anyone write in the chat box what will be the different components of the glycerophospholipid? Obviously, firstly, there will be glycerol. Obviously, there will be glycerol first, right? Then we have, yes, glycerol, phosphate, lipid, and base. Now, we will be having this C double bond O. You guys already know that is, yes, the fatty acid. This is the glycerol part. This is the fatty acid, right? This is the fatty acid. Yes, Sanjay, yes, right. Ye fatty acid. We are taking only two over here, two fatty acids, R1 and R2. We have like two fatty acids, one structure is of glycerol. To the third carbon, guys, to the third carbon, you already know we have phosphate group, as you have only told me. Yes, we have this phosphate group is also there. So we have like three to ho gaya. We have glycerol, we have fatty acids, right? And we also have this phosphate group, right? So this is a structure of a general phospholipid. And to this phosphate, guys, we have nitrogenous base. We have nitrogenous base, okay? Or it can be a non-nitrogenous base also. non-nitrogenous base. So we have like four components: one glycerol, two is fatty acid, third is phosphate, and fourth is either nitrogen or non-nitrogen. So that is basically the first one. That is the general structure of a glycerophospholipid. Now the very first one, guys, that I have told you, the phosphatidic acid. It is the simplest glycerophospholipid. Okay. Now over here, why I told you it is the simplest glycerophospholipid, because it is having no nitrogenous base. Okay, you already know phosphatidyl glycerol or phosphatidic acid, right? So basically, there is no nitrogenous base, no nitrogenous base, and all other glycerophospholipids basically are derived from this only, are derived from this only. So that is something you have to remember, guys. Okay, that is you have to remember. Coming on to the next one, guys, if we talk about, yes, if we talk about one of the important one, that is called as, yeah, the lecithin. Can anyone tell me what is okay, lecithin is again an different question, but let us just try to enumerate the functions over here. Yes, alveolar surfactant. Okay, I'll be discussing the structure of lecithin also. But before that, if we just want to simplify the different functions of the phospholipids, guys, remember they are an important group of compounds. They perform a wide variety of functions. In association with proteins, phospholipids forms the structural component of cell membrane. I have already told you we have the phospholipid bilayer. Phospholipid bilayer. They are having one head and two tails. So that is something which I have discussed in the earlier class also, and you guys are going to tell me which is the water loving part and which is the water repelling part of the phospholipid, right? Phospholipids, lecithin, I will be discussing in detail. Cephalin and cardiolipin in the mitochondria maintain the electron transport chain components, right? Electron transport chain, I will be discussing in the cellular, I mean, the whenever I will be discussing or after the carbohydrate metabolism, that time I will be discussing. Okay. Phospholipids helps in the transport of lipids. They help in the synthesis of different lipoproteins. Now, when I say lipoproteins, guys, you already know lipid along with proteins, right? So even the arachidonic acid or unsaturated fatty acid, basically they are they serve as a precursor for the synthesis of eicosanoids, which I've told you, right? So again, the phospholipids, they help in the reverse cholesterol transport. Now, guys, what you will ask me, what is reverse cholesterol transport? And when I will be discussing the metabolism of cholesterol, then only I can explain you the reverse cholesterol transport, how it is taken from the liver, okay, and everything. So these are the important parts that is you just have to remember as of now. Obviously, all these things will be coming up in the later sections of the lipid part, right? So that is you have to remember. Phosphatidyl inositol, it is the secondary messenger. Primary messenger, it is the hormone. Secondary messengers, the inositol triphosphate, right? IP3, right? The diacylglycerols, they are no involved in the action of some hormones, right? Hormones are primary messengers. Secondary messengers are these. So these are nothing but these are the phospholipids only, right? So in short, you can just mention the important aspects related to this particular question. Although I will be covering it in the reverse cholesterol transport, all these things will be discussing in detail. Now the question says one question is of rancidity, and this is like you already know about this. Rancidity, basically, it is a term used to represent the deterioration of fats and oils resulting in an unpleasant taste. Fats containing unsaturated, they are more susceptible to rancidity, guys, right? Now, this rancidity basically occurs due to partial, or I can say incomplete hydrolysis of triacylglycerols by the bacterial enzymes, right? And the oxidative rancidity is due to oxidation of unsaturated fatty acids. I'll be coming to the classification of fatty acids also. And you guys are going to tell me what is the difference between saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. What is the difference between the saturated fatty acids and the unsaturated fatty acids? Right? चलो फटाफट से बता दो what is the difference, guys? So yes. So in short, guys, you can just also mention like this. Ki, yes, the types, if they ask you the types, we have like two types, guys. We have oxidative and we have hydrolytic. Now, what is the cause of this oxidative rancidity? Now, oxidative rancidity, it is when it occurs when, guys, the fats, they react with the oxygen that is present in the air, right? So basically the unsaturated fats, yeah, I'm just writing the same things, no need to worry. The next slide, yes. So they react with the oxygen that is present in the air, guys. Remember the unsaturated fats, they are particularly prone to this type of rancidity because their double bonds are reactive. Unsaturated fats because their double bonds are reactive, right? Now, oxidative rancidity, what it will do, guys, it will lead to the formation of free radicals. Now, these free radicals are very, very dangerous. They are responsible for the formation of peroxides, right? So basically, even there are some volatile compounds that have very no odor, like different smell, different odor is there, right? For example, it is very, very common in oils like sunflower oil, olive oil, fish oil. Now, coming on to hydrolytic rancidity, basically it results from the breakdown of triglycerides into free fatty acids, okay, and glycerol, free fatty acids and glycerol, right? So basically, it is due to the action of an enzyme that is, I've already told you, lipases, or due to the action of water, right? Now, this hydrolysis basically, guys, it can occur in the presence of moisture. Obviously, whenever there will be moisture or there is heat, okay, it can be catalyzed by various microorganisms also, right? So basically, this hydrolytic rancidity it is seen in cases of like, for example, butter, right? Dairy products, okay? Now, where the release of these free fatty acids, the free fatty acids can lead to a soapy or I can say a very, very rancid type of a flavor. That is basically the takeaway points from this slide. That is the types of rancidity. Rancidity. Again, guys, how to prevent the rancidity? You already know the firstly, what is the important part over here, guys? That you have to store the oils and fats. You have to store the oils and fats basically in dark places, right? Cool, dark places, airtight containers to limit oxygen exposure. Okay. So basically, antioxidants like vitamin E, okay, that can be added to foods to slow down the oxidative rancidity. If we have to prevent the oxidative rancidity, we have to add vitamin E. Okay, that is a synthetic antioxidant, guys, right? Refrigerators we have to use, right? That can prevent both oxidative and hydrolytic rancidity, right? So that is about the rancidity, guys. Questions are like arranged in this form only. Now coming on to the lecithin, guys. Lecithin. You guys are going to tell me the lecithin, it is basically, yeah. So lecithin is a compound lipid. Lecithin is a compound lipid. Now, just try to see the structure, guys. You already know it is containing the, yes, it is containing this. So this is the structure of, yes. And over here, the nitrogenous base is choline. Nitrogenous base is choline, right? So we have two fatty acid residues. We have the fatty acid, we have the glycerol component, we have the phosphate, and we have the nitrogenous base that is choline, and that is the structure of lecithin. Structure of lecithin. Now, lecithin is nothing but, if I just try to see, guys, this structure without the nitrogenous base, it is phosphatidic acid. It is phosphatidic acid. And to that, if I'm adding choline, that is, I can also say that it is phosphatidyl choline. It is phosphatidyl choline. That is nothing but the lecithin. Lecithin. Right? Lecithin is also called as phosphatidylcholine. I've just told you in the starting also that all the lipids they are derived from this. I mean, the glycerolipids they are derived from this phosphatidic acid. Phosphatidic acid is without nitrogenous base, and when nitrogenous base is choline, and we have the phosphatidic acid, it is called as phosphatidylcholine or lecithin. Now, apart from that, guys, you have to remember what is the importance of lecithin. It is the most abundant phospholipid present in cell membrane. Phospholipid present in cell membrane. It is the most abundant phospholipid present in cell membrane. Secondly, it is the most abundant, as someone has already told before, it is most abundant phospholipid in lung surfactant. Lung surfactant, right? So it is phosphatidylcholine or lecithin or, yeah, dipalmitoyl. Basically, the fatty acid we are using over here, it is palmitic acid. So it is also called as dipalmitoyl phosphatidylcholine, right? So that is again the different name. And third one, it is a storehouse of choline. Storehouse of choline. So that is basically the different functions, guys. We have the structure and the function of lecithin. And what is lecithin? You guys already know it is a compound lipid containing phosphate, glycerol, fatty acid, and the nitrogenous base that is choline. Right? Coming on to the next question, essential fatty acids, guys. Essential fatty acids, guys, you already know the fatty acids that cannot be synthesized by the body. It is not synthesized in our body, guys, and they should be supplied through the diet. That's why it is called as essential fatty acids, right? Chemically, they are polyunsaturated fatty acids. Basically, the examples are very important. Linoleic acid and linolenic acid, right? They're very important. Arachidonic acid, basically, we classify it as semi-essential, guys, right? But yeah. Now, the biochemical basis, basically, our body, our human body, basically lacks certain enzymes to actually, no, basically to break the double bonds beyond the carbons 9 and 10. So that's why they become very essential, guys, because our human body is not having that, and that's why we are getting the supplements through the diet, right? So the functions, guys, you already know the essential fatty acids are required for the membrane structure, function transport of cholesterol, formation of lipoproteins, prevention of fatty liver. Fatty liver we'll study in medicine later, right? Like we have four stages, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Okay. So basically they are also important for the synthesis of some compounds that are called as eicosanoids, right? I think this is something which we have already discussed in the starting. Phospholipids, name any two with their composition and functions. So we have already discussed one that is called as phosphatidic acid. Phosphatidic acid, right? We have already discussed phosphatidic acid. Second, we have already discussed lecithin in detail. Second, we have already discussed lecithin in detail. Third, if you want to remember one more, that is called as cardiolipin. That is called as cardiolipin. Okay. So it is having no nitrogenous base, guys. Okay. And it is called as diphosphatidylglycerol. Phosphatidylglycerol. Okay. Now, guys, what is the importance of this cardiolipin, guys? It is isolated first from cardiac muscle, and hence basically the name it is given as cardiolipin. It is isolated first from the cardiac muscle. Okay. Only antigenic. Remember, guys, very, very important. It is only antigenic phospholipid. It is only antigenic phospholipid, guys. Okay, what happens? What does this mean? It cross reacts with the antibodies that are raised against Treponema pallidum. Okay, now it gives rise to false positive results. It's a result for like test for syphilis, right? Syphilis. So that is something you will be discussing it in physiology in detail. Okay. Now, cardiolipin is something which is present in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Mitochondria is a double membrane structure, right? So it is present in the inner mitochondrial membrane, guys. Right? So, yes, these are actually associated with a number of disorders also, right? Skeletal myopathy, right? Hyperthyroidism, right? It is also associated with heart failure, Barth syndrome, right? So this is something that you have to remember about this cardiolipin as well. So yeah, that was regarding the important phospholipids that we have discussed, some essential fatty acids, right? We have discussed the structure of lecithin, rancidity, right? We have structured glycerophospholipids and phospholipid structures in detail. So yes, phospholipids I've already talked about this in the previous sessions also. The head, the tail part, the water loving part, how they are arranged. So that is something you like already know from plus one and plus two also. But before leaving the session, guys, I want you to answer certain questions. Just try to answer in the chat box, guys. Which of the one is the simple lipid, guys? Which of the following is a simple lipid? Anyone in the chat box? Phospholipid, triglyceride, glycolipids, or lipoproteins? Chalo, फटाफट से answers. Just try to type in the chat box, guys. Which of the following is yes, Sanjay Shavan, glyco नहीं, glyco तो you already know ना. Glyco basically means carbohydrate with lipids. तो ये तो complex हो गया ना. Simple lipids में तो we have yes, Manvi very good. Triacylglycerol. Yes, Sanjay, very good. We have triacylglycerol. Very good. Second question, which lipid is the primary component of cell membrane? Cholesterol, phospholipid, triglyceride, or sphingolipid? Chalo. Yes, Sanjay, very good. It is the phospholipid. Very good. Manavi, very good. It is the phospholipid. Very good. Third question, which of the following fatty acids is essential for humans? I've just told you two, guys. One of there is there in the option palmitic, linoleic, stearic, or oleic acid. Which one it is essential fatty acids, guys? Sanjay, very good. It is the linoleic acid. It is the linoleic acid. It is the linoleic acid. Linolenic and linoleic acid. Fourth question. Cholesterol is important for which of the following function, guys? Yes. This you guys have to remember it is responsible for membrane fluidity, guys. It is responsible for membrane fluidity. Membrane fluidity, yes, regulation. phospholipids are classified as simple compound, okay, steroids or eicosanoids. Someone has answered. Yes, we have B, complex lipids. Which of the following is a polyunsaturated fatty acids? This is something which we haven't discussed yet. But yeah, anyone would like to answer this? Hmm. Which of the following is a polyunsaturated fatty acid? Manvi says palmitic acid. What about rest? Sanjay also says palmitic acid. Okay. Hmm. देखो, linoleic acid. Why not linoleic acid? No, no. Okay. Polyunsaturated fatty acid. What is? Okay, let me just try to write that. Polyunsaturated fatty acid means more than one double bond. More than one double bond, right? Polyunsaturated fatty acids means one double bond. Now, if we talk about linoleic acid, guys, you already know it is having 18 carbon, right? It is having 18 carbons, okay, and two double bonds. It is having 18 carbons and two double bonds, right? If we talk about, yes, okay, if we talk about, okay, you already know, hmm, now, so it is having two double bonds. It is having more than one double bond. So the answer will be linoleic acid. Palmitic is having only one double bond. Only one double bond having carbon 16. Okay, 16 carbon having only one double bond. So the question says which of the following is a polyunsaturated fatty acid? That is the linoleic acid. Right? Now coming on to the next question, guys. I'll be discussing this. I think again there will be some questions from fatty acids. Okay. Which component of phospholipids contribute to their amphipathic nature? Hmm. Amphipathic means you guys already know we have a head part and we have a tail part. Head basically it is water loving and tail it is water repelling. So you already know that amphipathic means the water loving part. That is nothing but the phosphate group. That is nothing but the phosphate group. Okay. Which of the following lipids acts as a precursor for steroid hormones? Guys, now just try to answer this. This is something very, very easy. For the synthesis of steroids, it is the cholesterol. Cholesterol we'll be discussing in detail. No need to worry about this, right? Which bond is responsible for hydrophobic interactions between lipid molecules in the cell membrane? And yes, remember guys, it is the van der Waals forces, right? And the last one, the deficiency of which fatty acid leads to symptoms like dry skin and dry hair? It is the linoleic acid. Okay. Dry skin, toad-like skin is there. So that is something you have to remember. So that was all for today's class. So these are the various social media handles which you can follow for upcoming updates for the classes. Thank you for your patience, and we'll be coming up the lipid chemistry only part 2, where I will be discussing more about the fatty acids part and all these parts, right? We'll be discussing in more detail about all this. So yes, thank you. Thank you so much.